Alright, so this is day 8 with Bowen. I decided that I would start doing day by day because my training sessions tend to be anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and I just didn't want the videos to be extremely long, and that way I could keep more of the videos um, in just one video rather than cutting them so that they all fit within a certain time frame. So we'll just start doing day by day. I may combine a day or two depending on how long the videos turn out to be. So let's go ahead and get started. I do like to do a quick little warm up in the round pen. I have him tacked up because I want him to really get used to wearing the saddle, and just that way he doesn't really forget. I don't always make him wear the saddle when we're warming up, but just for now, I think that it'd be good to do that. And I like to get him up to a lope because he is such a lazy horse. I like to make him work a little bit more to get to be in a slower gait. And also for a warm-up, it's just good to just run a couple of laps. I don't necessarily like to make him tired, but I do want him to be warmed up. That way I don't make any muscles sore, or so that we don't have any problems later on. So I did start out in the round pen, but now I want to get him used to using kind of the lunge line outside of the round pen with no barriers. That way he can get used to turning on his own without having a barrier to guide him. Pretty much with most things, he does have a little bit of a hard time because he wants to go straight and not really turn, but he does start to get the feel of it after a few minutes, and he's not bad at it, but it did take quite a while to get him used to it and to get him to understand what I want, because every time that I would try to keep him going in the circle, he would stop. I don't know if he thought that I wanted him to stop or if he just didn't know what the right answer was, so he just would halt. And of course he always manages to stop right in the blind spot of the camera, but he normally corrects himself pretty quick. We are also still working on changing directions properly, just meaning that he turns in towards me rather than turning his butt towards me, because that's just disrespectful anyway. So by doing this, you're teaching the horse to respect you, and also just teaching them that that's the way that you want them to turn when changing directions. And he does have an issue with it, or he gets confused and he thinks that I want him to yield his hindquarters. So he turns in towards me, but then he doesn't understand that I want him to continue moving forward. And that's something that just takes a little bit longer with him, but he does get it eventually. So here I am getting ready to get on him. I'm going to just flex his neck, just get him used to bending his neck when I'm in the saddle. He is a little confused because he's used to me being on the ground, but he eventually gets what I want him to do and he does fine. He does back up a little bit, which isn't a huge deal given that at least he's responding to the pressure and he is trying to give me the right answer. It may have been the wrong answer, but he did try, and that's really what matters to me. It just takes a lot of time and patience, and I don't want to rush anything with him. Like I stated before, he's not scared of dogs, so thankfully all the dogs barking in the background aren't a problem. He's not really too worried about the wind either. It is pretty windy, at least in this area. So as you see, when I started moving a little bit in the saddle to get down, he got a little antsy and he wanted to move a little bit, but at least he didn't have any sudden movements. In a way, I think he was just more distracted by the grass. But I laid across his back, just wanted to rub on him a little bit before I completely got down. But either way, he was perfectly fine, and I was very pleased with today's session. So, of course, he has probably never had a bath in his life before this day. So, I started with just spraying water, and as you saw, he really did not know what to think of it, constantly was backing away from it, trying to get away. I know it looks like it's pressurized, but it's really not that pressurized because I made sure beforehand that it wasn't gonna, of course, be too strong. It was just like if somebody took a hose and they added a little bit of pressure to it, it really wasn't much at all. He had just never, I don't think he's ever been sprayed with water before, so he just didn't know what to think of it. But he does somewhat calm down a little bit, and I'm able to rinse him like I am now. But of course, that's on that side, and as soon as I start to go to the other side, he starts to do the same thing again. Because horses have two sides of their brain, and what may happen on one side, they think isn't going to happen on the other side, I guess. I don't know. But you always work on both sides, and he did okay. He didn't have any like severe spooks or anything major. He's pretty calm when he spooks, but he does pretty much side pass almost every time, or he'll just yield away from it, which is kind of what you want them to do because you don't want them to be throwing their butt into you, and that could just cause an accident and you could get hurt. So thankfully he reacts the way that should be expected. And I'm just using a simple 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner by Esprit. I got it at Tractor Supply. It's not too bad. I like it because you don't have to do a whole lot of scrubbing, even though I still like to do a good lather on them. It says on the bottle to just spray it on and then leave it for a few minutes, but because it's so hot in Texas, I don't like to let it sit because then it dries and then it just can be a disaster for dandruff or just itchiness, and I don't want him to be uncomfortable, so I spray him pretty good, and then I get my soft sponge and I scrub him. I didn't do his mane and tail given that he was just a little too anxious still by the end, so I don't think I would have been able to thoroughly clean his mane or his tail, so we just did the body for now. overall, I think he did pretty well. He, of course, is gonna just take time when it comes to getting a bath, but he doesn't mind, of course, the squeegee or the actual cleaning part because I do groom him every day, so he's used to me touching him all over his body, and he doesn't have a problem with it. So it's just getting used to the water and, of course, moving forward with our riding and learning cues and that sort of thing. So that was our day 8 of training. During day 9, I started teaching Bowen how to yield his rib cage. This is difficult for most horses and requires a lot of patience and multiple days of consistency. So I was not able to videotape these sessions given the fact that it did happen at night and the quality of the video was not good at all. So it's really hard to tell what I was doing, and I just felt like it wasn't worth trying to fix the quality of the video when I can just kind of explain what happened throughout these days. So with day 9, we worked on moving the rib cage. With day 10, we refreshed on it a little bit. I worked on him with that for about another 15 minutes, and for the remainder of the time, I worked on, of course, direction change with the lunge line versus just being in the round pen. I did get on him for a little bit, and I was ponied on a trail ride by one of my friends. Thankfully, she has a pretty calm horse who has ponied quite a few untrained horses, and honestly, they both did really well. I was really proud of Bowen that day, given that we rode for at least an hour. Poor thing, he was so tired by the end, but I think he really enjoyed it, and it was just a good day and an experience overall.